Welcome back to my channel. My name is Noreen and I create painting tutorials, art, and art supply reviews. Today's video is going to be a little different. I wanted to try doing some painting outside, so I got this body mount for my phone to record while I paint. I also got this watercolor sketchbook that I've seen a lot of people use from Strathmore. It's not cotton, but based on reviews, it seems to have the best quality and value for cellulose paper. I also really like the spiral binding. The large artboard and clips were both purchased on Amazon. Links to where you can find all the materials are listed in the description below. I'm using my main palette with Daniel Smith and QoR watercolor paints and silver black velvet brushes. I want to talk about something that I think a lot of artists deal with, and that's motivation and how to stay motivated to create. Sometimes it can be pretty difficult, especially if you have a lot of other obligations in life. Right now I'm working full-time at my job while trying to stick to a weekly video schedule for this channel. It can be pretty challenging sometimes. But also, it can just be hard to find the motivation to actually draw or paint something. Sometimes I feel like it seems like a lot of effort to decide on something to make and then figure out how to make it and decide the colors and the format, etc. So how do you get over that? There are a few things I do to stay motivated. The first thing I always tell my creative friends is to just start. If you can do something for a few minutes, you might find that once you've started, it's much easier to just keep going. Another good way to get over a lack of motivation is to do warm-up exercises, just like you would at the gym. With art, it can have a similar effect. You can just doodle circles or squiggles on a scrap sheet of paper. Something I really love doing is just mixing colors. I have a book where I just swatch different mixes. It's pretty relaxing and it does help to get me in the mood for painting something more organized. I'm not really a sketchbook person, but if you are, it's a really good tool to use. I wish I was a sketchbook person. I have so many sketchbooks that I really don't stick with. I think about a piece a lot in my head and then I just get to it. Sometimes I'll do a demo sketch just to flesh out the idea, but often I'll just go for it. Keeping a sketchbook can be really good for you to get your ideas out and keep up your motivation. If you're not sure what to do, take a look through your sketchbook and see if any of your past ideas jump out at you for a project that inspires you. Another thing that really helps me is actually watching other people's art videos or scrolling artists on Instagram. Seeing other people's work can be really inspiring for me because maybe I'll see a style or a color scheme or a subject that I really like, and I think about ways I might incorporate that into my own creation. I also find that I learn little things I had never considered before, which is really nice. If you're on Instagram, the link to my page is in the description. Please feel free to connect with me there. I love discovering new artists. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner or an expert, there's always things we can learn from each other. I also belong to a few different art groups on Facebook, and it's so fun seeing what people come up with. I especially enjoy the beginner watercolor groups because they ask such great questions about things I may never have thought about. It's just a really good community for learning, and even though I do have a bit of experience, I feel like there's always something new I can learn about art or painting. Browsing through the posts on those groups can be really helpful for me because I often see a post with a question that inspires me to maybe create a video about it if it's something I can answer, or even make a piece incorporating the concept in the post. Interacting with enthusiastic artists is also just really uplifting for me and helps keep me in a creative mood. If you're interested in checking out a good group on Facebook, I put the link to my favorite watercolor group in the description. I'm pretty active there and there's so many great artists. The reason I wanted to bring this up is because lately I've been feeling a bit overwhelmed myself, and I've actually had this camera mount for a while, but I hadn't used it yet. It was a really pretty day, so I brought my supplies with me, not sure if I was actually going to use them, but I did, and it kind of got me out of this funk I've been in. If you have the ability to paint outside on a nice day, I would highly recommend it. The fresh air and the sun was great, especially since we've all been spending so much time indoors lately. So I'll tell you a little bit about my process here. I actually found this to be pretty difficult. My style can be categorized a little bit impressionistic. I do definitely prefer the impressionist style like Monet, and you know, painting more loosely is something that I definitely strive to do more. You'll notice, especially when I was painting the larger tree in the middle, that I often switched between holding the brush closer to the end versus more towards the middle, because I had to keep reminding myself to hold it at the end, and that actually allows you to be a little more loose and free with your strokes. So to make the leaves and the dimension in the trees, my basic method was to start with an underpainting of a light color just to give the whole thing a nice undertone, and then I started with the midtones, just putting in where some of the darker areas were, leaving the lighter leaves on the right side where the sun was coming from. And then I went even darker, and finally with my darkest shade I put in just where the shadows were. And the first few times I attempted this, they came out really horrible. I don't even want to show you. It was so bad. But the more I did it, I felt like you don't have to put in the branches everywhere. You don't have to build the structure from the ground up when you're painting, which is kind of a hard concept for me, at least, when I first started painting, and I still find that I fall back into that habit of trying to build a picture from its skeleton basically, and then add stuff onto it. But to get a more loose feel, you definitely don't have to do that. You know, just try to get the basic shape with a very light shade, and then put in the shadows where you see them. And using like a little hole cut out of a piece of paper can really help. If you look through the hole at the subject, it really isolates what you're looking at, so you're not distracted by the whole image. That's a really good tip. And then I got bored with the trees actually, because the area that we were in just had all of the same trees. So I decided to do some flowers that I had found around where I was sitting, and that was really nice too. That was it was nice to draw from life. I often use digital references, as you'll notice in my past videos. I use Unsplash a lot, so this was a good change for me, and definitely something that I think I'd love to do more of. I hope you enjoyed this little demo. If this is something you'd like to see more of, please let me know in the comments. I think next time I'd love to try a more urban setting, maybe try some quick sketches of people. If that's something you're interested in, let me know. Make sure to like and subscribe, and thanks so much for watching. Bye.